and only 9% said they weren't sure. With those questioned in the areas close to Gatwick, which includes Croydon, Crawley and Reigate, most of the people were in favour of a Gatwick expansion. Of course, the Gatwick chief executive claimed the results showed that the airport's second runway was gaining momentum. Well, he would say that, wouldn't he? A smaller sample of Londoners, only 653, were also asked which location would be their first choice for expansion, and 44% replied Heathrow, 34% said Gatwick and 22% said the Isle of Grain, which was Mayor Boris Johnson's preferred choice, which is now a deceased parrot. And of course, Heathrow says that their polling shows the opposite to Gatwick and that there is the preferred choice of an expansion, an extra runway. I guess we won't really know until the Commission comes up with its results after the election. But which is your preferred? Would you like to see Heathrow expanded, Gatwick expanded? Perhaps like people who are against Gatwick in the Gatwick area would like to see Luton and Stansted expanded. What would be your ideal choice? Let me know. Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Just a little bit of breaking news for you now. The Passport Office is now to come under the control of the Home Office. This is really due to the chaos, or what the press called chaos, earlier in the year, with people waiting for passports and not getting them in time before they go away. I think that sometimes when you're travelling in peak, you should allow longer for your passports and not leave it for a couple of weeks before you go away. But that's just my opinion. I wasn't caught up in this, so I'm not sure how bad it was. You can never tell really in the press. But anyway, at its peak in June, there were 537,663 outstanding applications, which is quite a lot, and apparently the backlog now is just 80,000. So hopefully next summer there won't be this problem, because as I said, breaking news, the Passport Office is to come under Home Office control. Of course, if you were caught up with the chaos and the delayed passport applications, then I'm completely wrong with the way I look at it, and you did give plenty of time to get your passport. Do share your experience at Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. A couple of weeks ago I talked about planes being diverted because of disagreements about reclining seats. So here's another plane diversion story, but this time it's got nothing to do with passengers getting stroppy because the passenger in front has decided to recline their chair. This one's a little bit more serious because a plane had to be diverted after a strong smell of bleach made the cabin crew too ill to work. The Air Canada craft was flying from Toronto to Vancouver, and it had 146 people on board when the smell was noticed in the forward cabin. The flight was forced to divert to Winnipeg when two members of the cabin crew started to feel too unwell to continue their duties. The reports in Canada said that the maintenance had been performed on a clogged drain in the forward galley prior to departure from Toronto, so perhaps the smell of bleach came from that. If you've been on a diverted plane because of ill cabin crew, was you worried? Was you concerned? Was you kept fully up to date with what was going on? As always, Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show to share your experiences. To be honest, one of the worst kept secrets when it came to flying was the problems that people's electronic games, telephones and computers could cause an aircraft while it's in the air. I'm sure all of you have travelled once or twice when you found that your mobile phone had turned itself on and the plane didn't fall out of the sky. But as far as I'm concerned, there's some bad news now from the European Aviation Safety Agency. Regular listeners to the show know that I'm completely against mobile phones being used in aircraft. It's bad enough on the train with people talking and shouting and shutting off. I think when you're up in an airplane, that's the last thing you want, along with the screaming kids and all the smells and all the other bits and pieces that go along with flying. This bit's just going to make the whole experience a little bit worse. as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, as I said, the European Aviation Safety Agency have said that electronic devices such as mobile phones can be left switched on during flights. They found that electronic devices do not pose a risk. So this announcement by the agency allows airlines to allow these devices to be left on when the aircraft is flying. Whether or not the airline would take it up and allow that to happen or not, it's not been announced yet. I've heard some stories about why you weren't allowed to have everything on when you were on the planes, because you need to pay attention for the safety demonstration. And there's always people who don't pay attention. They probably know it all or just can't be bothered because they know that the aircraft is perfectly safe. And the people who do pay attention have to look after these people who didn't pay attention. But anyway, you do need to pay attention when these briefings are given, so the devices should be turned off. But although the agency has said that it's safe, it's up to airlines to make the safety decisions. And I think those that don't allow it will probably get a surge of passengers compared to those that do. But that's just my opinion. It's a terrible thing, I think, to hear somebody else's telephone conversation, especially if they drown out my movie. But are you for or against having phones on in the aircraft while you're flying? Are you the sort of person who'd like to make phone calls all those thousands of feet up in the air, or do you just want people to wait until they land at the other end? Oh, at the other end, that people ignore all the no phones with baggage claim and customs. They just get off and pick up the phone. I think more prosecution should be taken on that as well. See, I really am having a grumpy rant today. I must have got up on the wrong side of the bed. But so anyway, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show if you're for or against phones being allowed to be used on aircraft. And also, what do you think about people ignoring the no camera signs when they get off the aircraft, between the aircraft and getting through to the end of customs? Do you think customs should allow it, or do you think people shouldn't do it and more people should be made example of? Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Or perhaps all you listeners out there just aren't as grumpy as I am. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Well, we've come to the end of another John Guinn Travel Show. I found my guests Gary Williams and Philip Sykes from the British Butler Institute extremely interesting. Nice people to talk to. Had a good chat, and I have to be honest, a little bit of me thought, perhaps I should have a career change and be a butler. But I'm not the most energetic of people, and I don't think I'd last very long as a butler. I'll soon get the sack. So perhaps it's not for me, although the pay does sound great and the job does sound really interesting, especially if you're working in a hotel. You get to meet different people, and as I've mentioned, there is a resort chain in the Caribbean, which is Sandals, and they do have a butler option if you want to push out the boat that little bit more when you go away. And they do things like running your bath and putting flower petals out and all sorts of things. You could really chill out and do nothing for your holiday. Well, even less, because the butler would be there to do it all for you. I had a little rant about electronic devices and telephones in the airports and while flying. So I mentioned I'm totally against having them in the airplane, but who's going to listen to me? Hopefully the airlines will see my point when it comes to that and keep it a no telephone zone. I also talked about how to keep your home safe when you're away. If you've got any tips to add to that, please let me know. As always, I've said it a few times already this show, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show for all your tips on how to keep your home secure while you're away. Crime figures are low, but the perception of crime is always higher than it actually is, and I can't think of anything worse coming home to find that your home's been damaged because of flooded water pipes, or even worse, broken into and there's stuff stolen. As I mentioned every time of this part of the show, if there's anything of interest you want me to cover on the show, let me know. I had the butlers on because I wanted to know how to pack a suitcase, and as I said at the beginning, who better than a butler to tell you how to pack a suitcase? That's why I had them on, and they were extremely interesting as far as I'm concerned. I hope they were for you too. But Facebook and the John Guinn Travel Show, let me know, what do you want to know more about, and I'll do my best to find out for you. Unless it's about finding out about the luggage going through the airports. I'm struggling terribly with finding out about that, because apparently it's a bit of a security risk if we talk in detail about what happens to your suitcase once you check it in until it gets to the airplane, and then when it gets back to the other end. I have a rough idea, but I can't get anybody to come on the show and talk about it. But anything else, let me know via the Facebook page, and I will do my best to get the guest on. And I hope you can join me next time on the John Guinn Travel Show on secularsounds.org, where each week I'm checking it out before you check in.
MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture, and much more to 66,000 readers every month. Plus news, views, and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse, and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.